Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay, and it's not just that you can see my camera. Let me know if you can't, if you're just seeing me, no sound. There is a Q&A section on the left-hand side. So if anyone has any questions, if you look to the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see the Q&A. So I think a sheet has already written into that there. Any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to ask them, and I can come to them at the end of the webinar. So today's webinar, what we're going to be covering is basically Magic IFX. So Magic IFX is the latest in the sensory software for eye gaze and other access method users as well. So with today's webinar, we'll be going through Magic IFX, and the agenda itself is the introduction to the software. We'll take you through the different levels as well that help with the various engagement skills, and we'll also have a discussion around the compatibility with particular hardware as well and other communication softwares, for example, the Tobii products. So we'll talk to you about them as well. Okay, so just before I get started, just a little bit about myself for anyone who is at the webinar who doesn't know me. My name is Michael Braswell, and I'm with Safecare Technologies just under 3 years now, and I specialize in the areas of cognition and SHX systems, Luminea, and environmental control as well. Okay, so just to, I suppose, get started with today's webinar. So today's webinar, as I mentioned, on Magic IFX, we're going to go through the introduction first of all. So with Magic IFX, it's designed to help and develop the communication skills through creative play and gaming as well. So the great thing about this software itself is that it's actually easy to use software. It's very intuitive when you're actually in the actual software, which I'll demonstrate in a while. It's packed full of useful features as well. So there's lots of different features for both the instructor and the user as well. It supports multiple different access pathways as well. So whether you are the instructor or whether you are the user as well, there's lots of different ways that you can access the software as well. And it offers lots of different activities as well through various levels of engagement. So what we will go through in a while is the different levels. There's 5 different levels, and there's lots of different activities and games within each level as well. Okay. So why Magic IFX? I suppose we are aware now at this point, I suppose, and most of us will be aware that there is a lot of different types of sensory softwares out there. But with Magic IFX, I suppose the new version itself, it offers quite a lot of new features that actually, I suppose, give it the edge over other types of sensory softwares. So Magic IFX, it provides a no-fail environment when starting out with eye tracking. And what we mean by that is that, you know, it's very intuitive, very easy to use. And the great thing about it for the user as well is that it's actually pre-calibration from levels 1 to 3 as well. So you don't necessarily need to have that calibration for the user when you're using level 1 to level 3 as well. And we do know that's where you can fail sometimes as well, is because the calibration takes a bit of time. It's very hard to get that calibration done. So with, you know, alleviating that particular part of it, it actually makes it easier for everyone to use it then. So there's a higher level of engagement to it as well. So you'll see, I suppose, from other sensory softwares that have been out there, you might see that, you know, they might be based on kind of cartoony images, you know, they're very basic, maybe just, you know, that cause that quick effect. Whereas with this particular software, it's a lot more, you know, detailed. There's a lot more engaging features to it. So we'll show you all that there as well. So it also offers, as I mentioned, multiple different access methods as well at once. So for the user and for the instructor as well, there's many ways of accessing the device, which I'll actually show you in a while as well. Also, again, the modeling with the different access methods as well. So while the user is actually using and engaging with the screen, the instructor doesn't necessarily have to go and touch the device. So that's the important thing as well, is that you might have found with previous maybe sensory softwares that in order to get the engagement going, sometimes, especially on a level 1 game, what might have happened is that, you know, the user themselves, you know, they're looking at the screen, or maybe they're looking away and there's no attention or no engagement on the screen. And what we might have tended to do before was touch the screen to actually get that engagement going, maybe get the flare going across the screen. But what happens when we do that is we're actually encouraging that behavior, modeling that behavior of touching the screen. So the user themselves might lean to touch the screen and not realize that maybe if they're an eye gaze user, that, you know, it's just a case of just looking at the screen and engaging. So we'll show you that in a while as well. And the software has evolved. So you'll see the differences. Maybe if you're familiar with Sensory IFX and other sensory softwares as well, you'll see the evolution of this particular software. You'll see how much more detailed it is in the colors as well. It's a very colorful software as well. And it's also an entry point for developing skills as well. Okay, so So in relation to the accessible inputs on the software itself, so you'll see here now that we've got eye gaze, we've got switch, we've got gamepads as well. So if you have that accessible Xbox controller, for example, there's sound. You can use speech as well, which is a new access method as well, and also the traditional keyboard and mouse as well. The speech as well, which I'll show you in a while as well, is a very good feature, and you'll see here now we have voice commands. So for example, if I'm in a game and maybe I'm the instructor and I want to instruct the user, then to basically we're doing our modeling, we're showing the user how the engagement and so on and so forth, but then we want to exit the game, for example. I could say exit app, and it's going to exit the app for me then, okay? Next up then, so to control the Magic Eye Effects. So Magic Eye Effects itself, you'll see that there is two ways of controlling it. The first is on the PC or on the laptop itself. So that is in itself using the computer, using that software, that Magic Eye Effects on that device. So that can easily be used using the eye gaze and so on and so forth. But then we have got using a tablet or a smartphone. So that is using an external device. So you'll see on the right-hand side, we've got connect a device. So what we can do is we can download on an iOS or an Android phone. We can download that software onto that phone, and we can use that as an external access method as well. So while the user is using the device, we can encourage that engagement using a specific stylus, which I'll show you in a while, and then we can go through all that then. Okay. So the introduction to Magic Eye Effects. So you'll see here now we have got the menu. So this is what we look at when we actually open up the software itself. So we've got the instructor menu on the left-hand side, as you can see here, and the gaze menu. And the great thing about the gaze menu is that it's completely accessible for the eye gaze user as well. So the eye gaze user can actually use the whole software, not relying on anyone else to enter into any apps or exit out of any apps, even to control and go into their own communication softwares, for example, Communicator 5 and Snapcore First as well. Also in relation to starting and stopping the app. So we do have the traditional way of going into the application, which I'll show you as well in a while, clicking into the application, and there's a play button, and we can record as well, and then exiting the app. There's lots of different ways. So depending again on our access method, for example, if we're using a keyboard and a mouse, we can press the escape button on the keyboard. If we're the eye gaze user, we can look to the bottom right-hand corner, and the menu will pop up, and we can press exit. We can simply use our voice commands, or we could even use that application as well on the external phone as well. Okay, so the 5 levels of engagement, as I mentioned, there is the 5 different ones, and you'll see from the screen, this is pretty much all of the games. You'll see there's a bit of a scroll as well, so there's a few more extra ones on the bottom as well. So we have level 1s to level 5, and you'll see it goes from anticipation all the way up as far as orbs. So with the levels themselves, you'll see the first one here is the screen engagement. And when we look at screen engagement, you'll see that that's basically just your black screen, and there won't be anything come up on the screen unless we actually engage, unless we look at the screen. So once we look at the screen, you'll see that you'll have that, the feature. As we look, we'll be able to engage. Then in relation to level 2, it's object interaction. So with object interaction, for example, the buttons going up the screen, when we look, we'll have an interaction. So we might burst the bubbles, maybe burst the clouds, might burst the buttons, and so on and so forth. With level 3, we've got region precision. So in this case, we have different areas of the screen that we're looking at. So maybe we want someone to look at the top right-hand corner, the top left-hand corner, the bottom left, or the bottom right. This is all about the region precision and making sure that we have our users engaging in different areas of that screen itself. The active exploration, that could be, for example, there's a music one, for example, and we have, piano. So we're using that exploration. Okay, what are the keys, the different keys? What sounds do we get from the different keys? Or even the cymbals on the drum, what are the different sounds as well? So you're exploring the screen, you're exploring the different sounds as well. And finally, control targeting as well. So maybe, you're having target practice. Maybe it's like darts or something like that, and you're trying to hit specific areas of the screen with the targeting. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look. So I'm just going to open up the software just for you to have a look. Just bear with me now. Okay, so hopefully you should all see my screen here now. So yeah, you should see the home screen there. And basically, within the home screen, when we open up the software, you'll see this is basically how it opens up. So we'll have at the bottom left our applications. So that's our level 1 to level 5, as I showed you just a few seconds ago, the different applications. You've got the user apps, which are the apps that you can create. We won't go into them now today because they could take a while to create those, but you can create your own apps as well. So you'll see here now, even 4 icons in, we've got Builder. We can build our own games, and we can engage with our own games as well. So, you can design it specifically for the user as well. we can do recordings as well. So you can actually record the user as well. And this is using the front camera of a device. So say, for example, it's an iSeries 13 or iSeries 16. When the person themselves looks at the device, automatically then that camera will record that person. There's also then the gaze menu. So if I was to click on the gaze menu, that automatically accesses it for the eye gaze user. So once we open it up as that, it'll stay as that until we exit out of it. But that's only if we exit out of that particular mode. If we exit out of the game, it's actually, or off the software, it's automatically going to open up that way on the software when we open it up again. So if we have just activated for the gaze person, for the user themselves, automatically when we open up the software again, it will go back to gaze menu for us. But we'll keep it on the instructor for the moment, and I'm just going to click into applications. So you see now as I click into applications, this is the screen that you saw on my slides a few seconds ago, and there's lots of different levels here now. So level 1 to level 5 and the different types of activities that are available. So what I'm going to do now, first of all, is I'm going to jump into level 1. So up the top, you'll see you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. And as I click into these, you'll see it breaks down the different activities. So we can see, because whereas if we had all the applications, that's just all of them. That's all of level 1 to level 5 mixed up. But here we can break them down from level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So up at the very top left-hand corner as well, you'll see the 3 white lines. Some call it the burger icon as well. So when we select this particular icon, you'll see here that's the menu that I showed you earlier. So we have the instructor login. So if we have set up different instructor logins, we can log in there, and each instructor can have different users that they can work with. If I was to click on home, that's just going to bring us back to the home screen again, as you can see here. You've also got the applications, which are your levels 1 to level 5. The media library itself, that is used for if you are using the app builder and you're creating your apps, you can use your own media as well. So you can maybe, you know, if there's specific images, maybe motivating images that you want to use, you can use that media within your specific apps that you create. And my recordings are basically that if you are doing the recordings, you have all your recordings saved there. You've got the app builder. The store is something that is being worked on at the moment, but basically with the store, the idea is that there will be additional activities in the future that you can purchase, and also that you can download other users' apps as well that they have created as well. But that's not a feature yet, but it should be coming hopefully in the near future. Gaze menu, as I mentioned, is basically using it as the user themselves, so being able to access it using gaze. And then we just have about and config. So config is just your general editing, and connecting your device is what I mentioned earlier when you're actually using that external device. So my mobile phone, for example, I could connect my Android phone and I can use that as my access method. So the idea behind that, and as I mentioned earlier as well, is that if we have the user using the eye gaze on the device, we don't want to be leaning forward and touching the device to create that engagement, but I can stand behind the user and they're not going to be aware that I'm just creating the stimulus to grab that engagement. So what I'll do is I'll go into the applications and I'll show you level 1 there now. So if I go into level 1, and for example, I go into follow me, I can press play here and I can open up my application. Now, I don't have my eye gaze attached to the device at the moment, but I'm using my mouse, so my mouse will, you know, interact as if it was my eye gaze. So as I move my mouse across the screen, it's the same as if I look at specific aspects of the screen. So what I'll do now is I'll just move my mouse across, and you'll see here it'll move, and hopefully it won't lag too much. We shall see it there now in a second. Okay, so you'll see as I go across the screen here now, it's going to move for me. Okay, but all of a sudden, if I stopped looking at the screen, okay, you'll see that this is what happens. Basically, it goes back to a blank screen. But if I am the instructor and I'm trying to get the user to actually engage with the device or the screen itself, what I can do is I can press S on the keyboard. So if I press S on the keyboard, you'll see we'll have this dot. So that's just creating that engagement. It's getting them to look at that dot. So if I start looking now, and you'll see I'm looking around the screen, I can look towards this dot, and it selects that dot, and it gives that more engagement for me then, okay? So I can do that, or I can simply just say as well, appear. And that dot will appear on the screen for me. Then I can say, disappear. and it will disappear for me. So it's getting rid of that idea of even having to use the keyboard and having the escape buttons and things like that. It's just a quick access method for you with the voice commands. These are editable as well. So you can actually edit around the voice commands as well to specific words that you want as well. And then I could say exit app. And this should then bring me back to the home screen. Exit app. Yep, and brings you back to the home screen there, as you can see. Okay, so that's just level 1. Okay, and as you can see there, those different commands. So if I even go up to, say, for example, feel the beat on level 1 as well. You will see there now. So with feel the beat, again, it's the case of you have that dark screen. So until I start to engage with the screen, that's when we'll have it there now. Okay. So you'll see as I move across the screen, we have got the notes that appear on the screen. And then I can say appear. And we have the speaker. And again, the same. I can just move across the screen until I hit the speaker. And then that disappears for me. Okay. So that is your simple level 1, but I'll just show you a few other different levels as well. So example, level 2, we've got, for example, the color stairs. So again, I can press play. And once this one opens up here now for me, what I also want to show you as well is that in real time as well, when you're actually using the games, you can adjust the dwell time as well. So if you have a user, so here we have again an entrance, so we have the specific stairs, and we can select those stairs as a video, and we're popping those stairs. So with level 2, there's already something on the screen, and as there's something on the screen, we can now engage with that. So you'll see as the levels go up, there's different types of engagement factors to it. So as I was mentioning there, sorry, with that music kind of talk to Ara was playing over me. In relation to dwell time, and I'm going to jump back into feel the beat here now, which is in level 1 again. So if I go into feel the beat, for example, okay, with my keyboard, I can automatically, using the up and down arrow, I can increase or decrease the dwell time for the user as well. So if we feel like maybe the dwell time is too long or too short, I can simply just change that by just pressing the up or down arrow. So you'll see that now. So first of all, I'm just going to show you the engagement that we're on the screen. So you'll see here now as I go across the screen here now, we've got the different sounds, and then I can press up. So you'll see as I press up on the top right hand corner of the screen, we have got the dwell time. So I can increase that from 0.4. I can bring that all the way up, I think as far as 4 seconds. And then I can bring it back right down again. Okay, so you'll see here we have that. So that is it. I also want to show you as well just another feature as well, and this is for anyone as well who uses the keyboard. So when you're within the actual games again, so if I just jump back into follow me again for a second, the other feature as well that we have, if we're in an app as well and we want to get that menu up, okay, so in order to get that menu up, there's a few ways of doing it. You can scroll to the bottom right and it should pop up for us, or you could just simply press F8 and F8 will open up the menu as well. So as I open up this particular activity, you'll see here now. Okay, so I press 8. And you'll see the menu has popped up on the right hand side. So this particular menu, you'll see as I scroll over each one here, we have power, which will turn it off. I have settings. I can go into settings and I can adjust the cursor. So for example, I could even say with my voice, cursor 2. Okay, and cursor 2. Sometimes it doesn't recognize my voice. Yep, so you'll see there now. So the blue has gone on to cursor 2, or I could say cursor 5. Cursor 5. And you'll see it'll select that X there now. So I have the big X then instead rather than the no cursor. Okay. And again, going back to the menu just to show you the other features. Apologies, I pressed escape by accident. Okay, so once that opens up, I'll be able to show you the menu there now again. Okay, so F8 again. So yeah, we have the power, we have the settings. Okay, and we scroll up a bit more. Okay, and we have the dwell time, so we can do the dwell time from the actual menu as well. And we've also got a play pause feature as well. If we want to just pause for the moment, just to take that break, so that when we look at the screen, it's not going to engage. And again, I can press the power, and that will bring me back out of the software then as well. Okay, so that is pretty much the software itself in a nutshell.